ladies and gentlemen, Vagran Gaming, and this time, and I've said this before, something a little different. This is the tail end of a friend and I running a hard mode, master mode technically. I'm not sure the lingo that people typically use, but it's a master mode of, I hope I'm getting this right, the Athis Flashpoint. I don't run a lot of flashpoints. Unless if I'm leveling a character, I'll run a couple of them. Just, to get that quick experience. And then once I hit max level, I typically do them as like a warm-up. Especially if I'm rusty, before I queue up for PvP. Now, I'm teaming up with a friend of mine. She has a YouTube channel, Chiara, and this is her character, Chiara. And this was a bit of an audition. She was one of the first players to hit level 50 on a Sorcerer when the game launched. And she's been, if I got it right, because my memory is horrible, so on my own means, I hope she'll correct me at some point. She's been like a pro gamer since she was very young. I don't get the numbers down right, because names and numbers are two things I don't do all that well. Now, she put up the calls asking around to see if people wanted to join her for PvP, because she's thinking about getting a group back together, as she's been kind of floating around between games. I expressed interest, and this was basically my audition, because she wanted to play with me, run a flashpoint, and to see if I was decent enough. And at this point, I think I made a couple of mistakes as far as we had one wipe earlier, which is partially because I messed up on a couple of things, and then we wiped once on this fight. I didn't record the entire thing, mostly out of forgetfulness, but I figured this is good enough anyway, because this is about the last 10 minutes. And it's just one, I wanted to do some Marauder action, because most of the videos I do are pub side, and she mostly plays Imperial, so I'm going to be needing to make a couple of adjustments if I'm going to team up with her, which is totally fine. So this is basically the tail end of my audition with her, and the name of the game was to keep up with her. She's a really good sorcerer, or sorceress? I'm just going to say sorcerer because I'm not sure the correct term. This was about the second or third flashpoint we ran together. At first, I think we ran Hammer Station, and I'm pretty sure it was a Mastermode Hammer Station, and she pretty much ripped through the whole thing almost by herself, and I had to really push myself to keep up. Normally, the groups that I typically get with in a pug, they're pretty slow paced, which is fine. Like, they'll clear a mob, they'll stop, they'll heal up, then they'll walk up to the next mob, there'll be like a ready check. And with Chiara, she'll run up, start blasting a mob, and when the last person is about 50% health, she's already starting to move on to the next one, because she's got about a 35-meter range, and she'll just finish him off on the way to the next one and dive right in. So I was pretty much running Predation off cooldown. I was using my Blade Blitz, I was using my leaps, everything I could just to try to keep up. Like, case in point, this guy's almost down, and I think she sent her companion ahead to the next one. I think I finished this guy off. Yep, he goes down, and then now we're off to the next encounter. So I've heard her talk about some of her accomplishments in the game, about how her guild during launch, they were clearing stuff before a lot of other people were. They didn't get all of the first, as far as the first clear of Eternity Vault or anything like that, but they were one of the first guilds to clear pretty much everything. And so this afternoon I got to see her skill up close and personal. It was pretty impressive to see her work. The first group that we went with in that Hammer Station, there was only 3 of us. She opted not to wait for everybody because she can handle herself. And in the Hammer Station, if you remember, there's where you spawn in, on your left side there's 2 droids that pretty much lead off to the rest of the encounter, and to the right there's that big walking droid that's just by itself patrolling, kind of the middle section of the map. She just ran up and started blasting the thing. So I load in, combat's already started, and I'm like, oh boy, we're off to the races. And by the time I got up to the thing, it had maybe 30% of its health left. And then after that, it was pretty much a sprint through the entire thing, and it was really cool. Like, normally when I run like Hammer Station or something like that, it's a fairly slow-paced affair, and You know, it's just about, if anything, I use it as like practice for getting my rotation drilled into my head. And when I was playing with her, I was struggling. Like, I'd had to basically have I had to have my moves mapped out several places ahead of time, because if I didn't, I was going to get basically caught with my pants down, and she was going to be off to the next mob, and I was going to be playing catch-up. So the first one, it took me about halfway through the flashpoint before I really wrapped my head around what I needed to do, and it was a really fun exercise. I'm actually looking forward to teaming up with her again to do some more flashpoints. At least, like, I mean, PvP is my preference, but even if it does work out and she's willing to take me on as a as an anonymous henchman, it would still be really good practice, because normally I've got plenty of time to look down at my hotbar, see what's next, see what's coming off cooldown. But to keep up with her, I had to like leap in and say, all right, next I'm going to use this ability, then this ability, then this ability. Start to go through them, quickly glance down, okay, and then map out at least 3 or 4 moves in advance, because whenever I didn't, I was lagging. And it worked out half decent. I was really nervous that I was going to get to the end and she was going to say, nope, you're awful, go away. Like, thanks but no thanks. But fortunately, in between a couple of the combats, she said I was doing decent. She said I was doing well, which I really appreciated hearing. I guess she dishes out so much damage so quickly that she normally has all the aggro on herself. And a couple of times, I was able to snag that aggro away. It might have been like game mechanic as far as what abilities I was using, but either way, she was impressed. I was blown away, so it worked out. And I'm pretty sure I passed. I'm pretty sure I passed the audition, which was nice. So now we're going on to the last boss. Now I'm used to playing rep side, so I'm just gonna call it I almost said focus. Concentration. I want to say it's called Fury imp side, but I'm really, really rusty on my imp side names. Now, I've mostly done hard modes in a full group of 4 people. This was the first time I can remember running it with a pair of just 2. I'm sure people probably do this all the time, but it was the first for me. I had to be like really efficient with my cooldowns because we didn't really have a dedicated healer. I'm pretty sure she's playing DPS, and I think her companion might also be DPS. I'm not positive. No, I think her companion is healing as well. And usually we get through most of the encounters by her leading the charge and like blasting through everything. And I guess she's normally even more dangerous than she is here, but I think she was getting over a cold, but she just wasn't feeling well. I think she mentioned that she was in rough shape by the time we got to the end of this match. But even with her like not being 100% health-wise, she was still basically, I referred to her as the head of the spear. And she lived up to that quite well. So the audition, I think, went pretty well. We ran about 3 or 4 flashpoints. Most of them were master modes, and a couple of them, I think it was at least 2 master modes and 1 veteran mode, if I'm getting the names right. And hopefully, when she's feeling better, we're going to team up again and maybe do some PvP. My personal playstyle is I usually fill a rollout and then go from there. Whereas she usually has in mind what she wants to do in advance. We might wind up doing like a healer tank combo. That would be fun. But it's probably more likely that she'll just want to see how I can do in war zones as far as dishing out damage, which is usually like my secondary. So that's one thing I'm a little nervous about for if a team up happens. Normally when I'm playing war zones, I'm all about the objectives. I'll do damage, but I usually do damage in the context of leaving room for either myself or somebody else to get an eye on those objectives. Although, now that sadly my guild I was playing with kind of fizzled down, they're not really super active anymore, I've just been in between taking breaks because of not really finding people to play with. When I do get into a war zone, it's like trying to shake the dust off. So, I think if I keep at it, keep getting in game, the dust will be shaken off, and then by the time we're ready to team up, we'll hopefully have some really cool war zones to watch. I've seen some of her screenshots, and I've seen some of the clips that she puts up on her YouTube channel. Her YouTube channel is kind of like a highlight reel more than anything, if I'm interpreting it correctly. Though she'll put out a video here and there of her like running a hard mode of Hammer Station by herself, which I want to say is Master Mode. I'm awful with the way the lingo works now because I don't pay a ton of attention to all the details of flashpoints. But I've seen her in action. She's really good. It'll be awesome to team up with her for some war zones. So hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to start regularly uploading. Part of the reason why things have slowed down was I haven't really found a group to play with, which I might be able to catch up with my old friend O9. I teamed up with him inside and I was doing my Scoundrel videos. So anyway, this is a bit of an update and just showing off my audition running through a master mode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully soon we'll be getting back into those war zones. So feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I will catch you all again very soon.